segment of the morning flight where we treated trending news and gist. Today in history, traffic report, and we also covered up with the legend of the day.
Yes.
Now we are going into the discussion segment, and as stated, Kemi, you talked about the topic that we are about to discuss this lovely morning. It's all about elections in our dear country, Nigeria, and the electoral processes staggered election in Nigeria. Should INEC adopt geopolitical zones format? A lot of people just the moment they hear geopolitical format,
Format.
and we have six geopolitical zones in our dear country, Nigeria.
Yes.
Other things we'll be discussing this lovely morning.
Yes, topic staggered elections in Nigeria. Should INEC adopt geopolitical zones format? That's what we want to find out on the show this morning. And when we talk about staggered elections, Doctor,
Yes.
a staggered election is one in which only some of the seats or positions of a body or branch are up for election at a specific time. And this is in contrast with situations in which every seat or position is up for election, at one time. And staggered elections generally occur when members are elected to seats at different times. Like, talk about, for example, the United States. The United States Senate has staggered elections. Members of the Senate are elected into 6-year terms. However, elections occur every 2 years for a third of the Senate seats over the course of a 6-year period. And every seat in the Senate will have been eligible for re-election. But let's come down to Nigeria.
Yeah.
When we talk about staggered elections.
Staggered
Because to a
elections.
layman,
Yeah, a lot may not understand. Apart from the general elections that we do have every 4 years, the last general elections we had now was this year
yes.
in February, March. You understand? We had the presidential and national assembly elections. You understand? Then after which we had the state elections and the state house of assembly election. That is governorship election and state house of assembly elections. But in the process, because that general elections about the presidential election was all encompassing. It's actually everybody in our dear country, Nigeria, we were involved.
Yes.
And even the national assembly elections, we were all partakers of it. But during the governorship election, which came in the month of March, there are some states
where elections were not held.
Yes, exactly. So we want to take a look at the number one, not only the rationale behind staggered elections, but how elections are conducted during this period. There was one time last week a political party chairman was saying that INEC performs better, especially when it comes to off-season off-season elections like that. Maybe there are few. Then
so
like
they can plan. They have enough time to plan, and logistics are well taken care of, and other things like that. Unlike the normal general elections, where if care is not taken, the violence could occur. So many things could be aftermath.
And then when we want to talk about deployment of security agencies, when we hear about 350,000 soldiers, this and so, security agencies altogether comprising the Nigerian, the Nigerian Police Force, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and other relevant security agencies are always actively involved in these electoral processes. And sometimes when we have these general elections like that, some people believe in some quarters that this independent body, the electoral umpire, they are always overstretched.
Exactly.
You understand? Even the security agencies, their activities, they're always overstretched because we have more maybe more processes to attend to.
Exactly.
From the area of collation of results from the polling unit to the local government, to the local government collation, and to this and that, and then proper coordination of people. But when it comes to off-season elections like this, you understand?
It's like there's a proper plan.
Proper plan. Then one good thing about the off-season election that we are about to experience in November 11th is that in the general elections, in fact, INEC is confidently saying that most of the shortcomings that they experienced during the presidential and governorship elections have been taken care of.
And so many Nigerians are now asking that why should INEC organize staggered elections? Why can't elections be held at a time? Because some people believe that staggered elections, is kind of more expensive. The money you're supposed to spend all at once It's like you are spending double.
Double.
So some Nigerians are like, why can't they, the same strength, the same logistics, the same proper planning they put into the staggered elections, why can't they just put everything together in the normal general elections, and so that we do the election once we are done with?
You know, in the course of the conversation this lovely morning, our guest will be helping us to shed more light on it. But Kemi, you know, elections in Nigeria are forms of choosing representatives to either the federal government level or other various levels of government in the Fourth Republic of Nigeria. And elections in Nigeria started in the year 1959. Yes, with different political parties. It is a method of choosing leaders where the citizens have the right to vote and be voted for. Okay, we need to go on this short timeout. I'll be right back. This is 9.5 FM. Do not change the dial. Is OJBC 9.5 FM, 21 minutes past 8. You know, Ken, we're talking about staggered elections. You know, elections in Nigeria started in the year 1959 with different political parties, and it is a method of choosing leaders where the citizens have the right to vote and be voted for. And there are quite a few developed and developing countries all over the world that have held referendums at the same time as national elections. Examples range from the United States to Uruguay, Armenia, Taiwan, Slovakia, and the Cook Islands, to mention but a few. So, and some analysts are of the view that if all elections are conducted in a day, announcing the results will take time and could cause serious tensions that might lead to security breaches. But some are antagonizing the opinion. To you, our dear listeners, this morning, should INEC adopt a geopolitical zones format so that there will be proper monitoring of elections, just as it happened in some states that have not done their elections? But to shed more light on what we are bringing to the front burner this lovely morning, we have our guest this lovely
Mr. Jide Ologun. Barrister Jide Ologun is here to shed light on those gray areas concerning staggered elections, also known as off-season elections in Nigeria. Should INEC adopt geopolitical zones format? All the questions we have all the questions here for our resource person. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to all the wonderful crew in the studio and to all our awesome listeners across the world.
Thank you sincerely. Barrister Jide Ologun is a legal practitioner and a public affairs analyst. Barrister, we are indeed happy to have you join us this lovely morning. Now, Barrister, we've been talking about staggered election in our dear country, Nigeria. Now, to you as a person, what is responsible for off-season elections in our dear country, Nigeria?
Okay, brilliant question. Let me emphasize that elections of 8 states, Nigeria, talking about Anambra, Bayelsa, Edo, Ekiti, Imo, Kogi, Osun, and of those states, are off-season due to litigations and court judgment. So it is not the design of INEC. You know, when some citizens then in the days of Jesus, and so it was not so in the beginning. And I listened to your brilliant one. We trace back to when we started elections in Nigeria, even before the independence of 1960. You know, and don't forget that when we talk about these 6 geopolitical zones, I will emphasize that more later. Nigeria started as 3 regions. And at the time we had 12 states, at the time everything started going on. So now we have 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, and we now have the 6 geopolitical zones. So it was not the design of INEC to have staggered elections, but because of litigations and court judgments. And let me also say this, because some have said that you see the judiciary can determine results of election. The answer is no. But it's the politicians that will go to court. And when you come to the judiciary, if the judiciary shut doors against you, no. You can play arms of government, the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. So that is the history of staggered elections. And when you talk globally also, staggered elections are also held in the United States of America. For example, the United States senators have a 6-year term, but they are not all elected at the same time. Okay, so those are issues. So it's like what they call the doctrine of necessity. Yeah. And I think that will lay a good foundation for our discussion this morning.
All right. Now, Barrister, talking about litigation, is it possible for politicians to avoid unnecessary litigation in the electoral process? Is it possible?
Absolutely possible. And I will use the precedent of the former president of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan.
Okay.
You can imagine that APC came as a party and removed an incumbent president from the seat in Abuja. And the man said, I won't go to court. I will comply with the decision of INEC, because INEC itself is a creation of the Constitution to manage the elections in the country amongst other responsibilities. And he never went to court. But it's not always the case. And going to court when you are not satisfied is a fundamental human right. And if you look at Section 65 of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended, it keeps the gate open that when the returning officer makes a declaration that are not so clear to the INEC, INEC has 7 days to review the results, and then if parties are not interested, they can proceed to a court of constitution or to the tribunal. So it's part of the electoral process. But politicians may choose not to go to court. I think 5 parties decided to go to court in respect of the last election, and we have 3 left now at the Supreme Court talking about Labour Party, PDP, and APM. We have more than enough parties in Nigeria to combat the court. So it is a choice. But I commend those who have gone also, because we are testing the system of our electioneering in the country, and advising people should also all be prepared to accept the final decisions of the Supreme Court. Because since 1963, when we became a republic, the Supreme Court became the highest court in the land. Before 1963, we could appeal from the Supreme Court to the Judicial Committee of the So as it is now, the moment the Supreme Court decides on the matter before them now, that is final. Whoever is declared winner will proceed to manage the affairs of the country for 4 years.
Now, Barrister, let us take a look at our electoral processes and how people emerge in elections. Some are of the view that they are questioning the processes and the way INEC conducts elections, that even despite the fact that we spend huge amounts of money in electoral processes and even in general elections, that eventually about almost 90, or if not more than 90% or more than, eventually will still return to the courts to say that they are dissatisfied with the outcome of the election, with the result of elections. Do you think it's a worrying trend? Because eventually election was initially conducted that eventually landed at the Supreme Court that gave reasons for this off-season elections. Would you say that INEC needs to bulk up in this area to ensure that electoral processes that will not lead to litigations, that courts will now be the one that will give final judgment about results. Don't you think the electoral umpire needs to buck up in this aspect?
No, let me say this. I do not envy INEC in any way at all. First prominent election in Nigeria, and you recall this. So human beings will always be dissatisfied in public relations. So bias will define your response. So if Peter Obi had been declared winner of that last presidential election by INEC, APC would have come to town and go to court, go to everywhere.
Or any other political party.
Exactly. NNPP would have done the same thing. So INEC is occupying a very tough position. For example, Lagos State lost to Labour Party during the presidential election. That was strange. You would have expected that with the influence of the sitting government, that Abuja, APC lost Abuja to Labour Party. And you remember all the arguments about 25, whatever, all those arguments, whether Abuja is the principal state in Nigeria or just one of the states. These are the issues. So, in Lagos, I think Oshodi Solo, local government, federal constituency, and Amu ward of it. The candidates that won were Labour Party candidates, and the tribunal affirmed it. So, it's neither here nor here. Look at the case of Nasarawa. I think PDP has been declared winner. So the matter will still go on appeal. So I do not envy the judiciary and INEC. It matters little who won at the last presidential to all the elections we held because they all have the opportunity of going to the tribunal. So it's about where you stand. Right now, the APC concerning presidential election, INEC is the best thing that ever happened to Nigeria. For Labour Party, INEC is the worst thing that ever happened to Nigeria. To PDP, so that these are issues. But can INEC perform better? Yes. And again, without holding break for INEC, let's look at our laws. We have spoken about IREC. We have spoken about VIVA. Does the law specifically say that its results must be, in law, will is different from may, is different from shall, is different from must. So can we be specific that, okay, any result that is not transmitted real time within 1 hour of the conclusion of the election in any polling unit is not, specific. INEC has their guidelines, they have their rules. It goes were tested in those states and it worked very well. So why is it at the national level we started having glitches? Again, at the macro level, how strong is Nigeria in terms of system? Look at when we did the Naira swap and everything. How we was able to go on cashless policy by transferring money on their phones. We have those facilities and everything. So we still have to strengthen our system. Let me say this. We have all our elections in one day, or we stagger them. If we don't have a strong system, we will continue to have all these hiccups.
Okay.
And that is the problem.
Flight on OGBC 90.5 FM. We still have our guest here, Barrister Jide Ologun, a legal practitioner and public affairs analyst. Now, Barrister. Hello?
I can hear you.
Yes. Talking about the staggered elections in Nigeria, should INEC adopt geopolitical zones format?
Thank you very much. You see, the geopolitical zones were created in 1993 by General Sani Abacha as geopolitical zones. And they were created for administrative purposes and to engender equitable development nationwide. And of course, each geopolitical zone has several states and unique characteristics and cultural advantages. So it was not really for the sake of politics, but you expect that it has an undertone of politics. If you know the politics that has been between the North and the South in Nigeria. In fact, there was a time I was engaging, I was having a dialogue with a governor, and I asked him that, Your Excellency, will it not be better if we make this a geo-economic zone rather than geopolitical zone, so that the economic performance will be the platform of coming together as a nation? But that's a discussion for another day. So if you are talking about geopolitical zones, elections, how is it going to go? Please, this final election we are talking about is just about governor zone. All the parties, the House of Representatives
elections.
They are,
And the Senate
House of Representatives
elections.
They are,
And the Senate.
election. So it's about governorship. Let's make that clear. Let's make that clear.
Yes.
So when you now talk about geopolitical zones, are we now saying that INEC will now have 6 elections at each geopolitical zone?
Yes.
So what happens to the National Assembly that has 109 senators from all federal constituencies in Nigeria, 360 House of Reps members? So that argument may not fly. Except we are now going back to pure federalism, which is regional government, that we will now have the central where we contribute to. So which means that, okay, geopolitical zones, Southwest, manage your resources. North Central, manage your resources. Then you will now go back to having geopolitical commissions. And that is the true federalism. Nigeria stands to be. Not all the parts of the country are ready for true federalism. Remember that recently, there were these arguments everywhere. Southeast, they say we are ready to go. Southwest, they say we are ready to go. North, they say they are not ready to go. So we don't have that issue. And why? Because there is no development characterizing the system of government we run in Nigeria. So this geopolitical zone, they complicate everything. The budget for this last election of 2023 was 155 billion naira. So if we are going to define Nigeria in terms of administration and everything, then let each political zone conduct their elections, appoint their governors, appoint their houses of assembly members, then maybe Abuja, with all the arguments about Abuja, will remain the center. So if you generate 100% revenue in your geopolitical zone, you can send 30% to Abuja.
To the federal level.
And 6 times 3 is 18. That means Abuja will even have more than 100% revenue coming from the geopolitical. Nigeria did not rely on oil and gas in the First Republic. Chief Obafemi Awolowo did not use the resources of oil to build the cocoa house, to build the 20 station, and to provide free education. So these are arguments for another day. But talking about elections, what we have now, like I started by explaining, we're brought about by judicial decisions. And what can happen is for the National Assembly to come in and for the politicians to agree that, okay, Kogi State, you have your election now. Let's make a law that will unify all these processes again. That when this governor finishes serving, his term should be extended to catch up with the regular calendar of elections. And you do the vote or so the Bayelsa and Anambra so that we have a unified whatever. But in the absence of that, and again, let me take this opportunity to say that politicking is just an aspect of governance. This electionary we are talking about is just to appoint people to manage the resources of the country, to create commonwealth for common good. But is that what they are doing there? And that's the big question. And as long as we continue to have greedy and
self-centered
leaders, then we just get And China is leading the world economy. How many times have we debated, in some countries? I was saying it recently when we were discussing the SUVs for National Assembly members. I think in Netherlands, the Prime Minister rides around on bicycle. I'm not talking about motorbike or power bike.
Bicycle.
Yeah, because the platform for any operation at all. But let me say this for the purpose of wisdom. A wise man said the poor man buys luxury first. The rich man buys luxury last. People borrowing money to show that they are big when they are actually empty. And I think that is the case of Nigeria.
Okay.
But rich people make money and they enjoy from their cash flow. And that is the way it should be. That is what has happened in Switzerland. That's what has happened in Sweden, in Norway, in some, big, great countries of the world, in the UAE, So it's an issue. So don't let us be, cannot carry the way and the matter before Supreme Court. At the end of the day, these politicians are all friends.
Definitely.
They move from one party to the other. What happens to the citizens of Nigeria? Do we have consistent electricity in Nigeria? Where do we have solid education in Nigeria? Where do we have good welfare in Nigeria? Where do we have the national security in the country? These are big questions on my list.
Yes. Even our callers too. Our callers are eager to ask you some questions. Barrister, our callers are eager to ask you some questions. So we'll throw this open now. 0803-437-9453 and 0815-032-0226 are the numbers to call. We're talking about the staggered elections in Nigeria. Should INEC adopt geopolitical zones format? Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, ma.
Good morning, ma.
You guys are here from Barrio. Good morning, Barista. I'm always happy when you are around. You always speak your mind and you don't mind whatever happens about it. This is where the sun is for the Nobel Academy.
Yes.
The barrister has said the main reason why we are not getting to state in Nigeria. One, personal interest. Personal interest about any other interest. And until this thing is civil, we can't have a better thing here. Just ask me, a change of mind. And the positive borrowed those making money for themselves. I always say this and I'll say it again. That if all people representing us, say, United States of America, I read of a congresswoman who left the Congress at the national level to go back to the state level to serve her people. We came out service. Obama was two-time president of America. Obama does not own a property in Washington, D.C. Some congressmen in the USA just to serve the people. We are not saying the whole world wish them the best. The security of one generates the commonwealth of this nation for common good. We think that. But I stand for any day, anytime. The process of election, do you know that, sir? Even after about 2 years or thereabouts, some people did not even know election took place in that. But this Nigeria, like our elder mentioned, selfish interest. But this Nigeria, like our elder mentioned, selfish interest. Because, if in Nigeria you shun in the community that has how they reason. Some people ask us, in America, don't your leaders come here? And I say they come, but they don't have insight. They see, but they cannot comprehend. Or I don't know how. And for the rest of us, let me say this, times may be tough now. But according to Dale Carnegie, develop success, be open your heart of understanding to know what to do, to come out victorious from these tough times. And to the government, that the